On the night of July 22nd, 2016 in Hyderabad, India, heavy rain was pouring down when a figure wearing a black mask stepped out of a white car and killed a young couple, Krish and Shruti. This was only the beginning. This is Duru Bangal Pathanaru. 5 years later, in the city of Uti, a retired police officer named Deepak got a call from his former subordinate, Rajan. Rajan had a son named Guru, who was desperate to join the police force. The problem was, Guru had been unemployed for 3 years. His mother was already in poor health, and she kept begging him to choose a safer job. So Rajan asked Deepak for help. He wanted Deepak to scare Guru with the ugly truth about police work, especially the dangerous unit Deepak used to serve in, hoping Guru would finally give up the idea. Not long after, Guru arrived right on time. Deepak spoke with him outside since his house was still being renovated. Guru barely showed any emotion and stayed silent at first. Deepak could tell it was because Guru felt forced to be there. Then Guru finally asked why Deepak walked with a limp. Deepak explained that the injury happened during his last case, the one that ended his career. Guru immediately connected it to the infamous psychopath murder case. He admitted that his obsession with becoming a cop started because of that case. And he came here for one reason, to hear the real story from the man who investigated it himself. Deepak could see Guru was serious, so he told him to share what he already knew first, and then Deepak would correct anything that was wrong. So Guru began with the version he had heard. He said that around 2 a.m. on July 23rd, 2016, just a few hours after the earlier tragedy in Hyderabad, a teenager named Melvin was driving his red car with his two friends, Fabian and Mano. Out of nowhere, a man named Kumar ran into the road, and Melvin accidentally hit him. Instead of calling for help, Fabian panicked and forced the others to hide Kumar's body in the trunk. Fabian believed his car was the only one that passed through that road that night, and if Kumar was found lying there, the police would trace it back to them quickly. To make things even worse, Fabian insisted they keep the body in the trunk for the entire day and dump it somewhere safer the next night. But before they could do that, they got stopped by two officers running a checkpoint. The officers smelled alcohol, and they noticed all three boys were soaked even though they were inside the car. The officers became suspicious and tried to hold the car, but Fabian snapped. He attacked both policemen, then sped off and rushed home with his friends. Once they made it back, Fabian tried to justify it. He said it was better to get caught for fighting the police than to get caught with a dead body in the trunk. As long as the body could be moved somewhere, no one would find it. Deepak was stunned hearing Guru explain all of this, because none of that hit and run, and none of those three boys, ever appeared in the official police records or the version shared with the public. But Guru was clearly not guessing. He knew too much. And because of that, Deepak finally agreed to continue the story, this time based on what actually happened when he worked the case. Now we go back to 2016. On the morning of July 23rd at 9 a.m., Deepak had just arrived at the police station when Rajan brought him a report. A man named Krish had been found dead on Taman Bharati Road in Hyderabad. Based on the driving license found on the body, the victim was identified as Krish, and the early assumption was that he had shot himself. Rajan had actually tried calling Deepak since early morning, but Deepak had left his phone at the office the night before, and the battery had died. The first person to report the body was a newspaper delivery man named Sriram. He discovered Krish lying by the roadside around 2:30 a.m. during heavy rain next to a white car. After filing the report and taking Sriram's address, Deepak told him he could leave. But just as Sriram was about to walk out of the station, he suddenly shouted for the officers. He claimed he had just seen the same white car that had been parked beside Krish's body the night before. According to him, the car had briefly stopped in front of the station before driving away as soon as he yelled. Deepak and Rajan did not take it seriously. When officers first arrived at the scene earlier that morning, there had been no white car next to the body. Still, Deepak and Rajan decided to head to the crime scene on Taman Bharati Road. Since Deepak's phone was still charging at the station, he borrowed Rajan's phone for the day. At the scene, there were no obvious clues, but a young officer stationed there, Gotham, shared his suspicion. He believed Krish's death might be connected to three local teenagers who lived nearby: Fabian, Mano, and Melvin. The three were known for partying late into the night, and it was possible one of them had access to a gun. Deepak decided to bring Gotham along for the investigation. Rajan was told to assign another officer to guard the crime scene. They went straight to the house where Fabian, Mano, and Melvin were staying. Deepak pretended they were looking for a robbery suspect in the area. Of the three, Fabian, the homeowner, acted the most arrogant and confident. Mano mentioned that Fabian's father visited once a month, and there was also a housemaid living there. Gotham searched the house but found nothing suspicious. Then Deepak asked to check the car trunk. The moment he did, all three boys visibly panicked. But when the trunk was opened, it was completely empty. Even without evidence, Deepak could tell from their body language that they were hiding something. Not long after that, Rajan received another call. A young woman named Shruti had been reported missing from Sarat Prayak apartment. A neighbor said that Shruti's close friend Vaishnavi had knocked on his door around 7 a.m., panicked and shaken. She claimed Shruti was gone, and there were bloodstains on the bedroom wall. According to Vaishnavi, she had arrived at the apartment at 6:45 that morning. She was shocked to see blood on the wall and no one inside, so she immediately informed the neighbor. In her panic, she also mentioned that she often visited Shruti on weekends at unpredictable hours. Since they were close friends, Vaishnavi even had a spare key to the apartment and could enter any time. Since the investigation had not led anywhere yet, Deepak decided to seal off Shruti's apartment as an official crime scene. No one was allowed inside. Vaishnavi, who had come from out of town and was now considered a key witness, temporarily stayed at a neighbor's place, while Deepak looked for a safer alternative for her. Not long after, Deepak received another important update. The day before she disappeared, Shruti had gone to the police station to file a harassment complaint. The man she accused was named Mano. The moment Deepak heard that name, he immediately returned to the house of Fabian, Mano, and Melvin. When he arrived, he was surprised to see Sriram, the newspaper delivery man, there as well. Still, Deepak did not think much of it. It seemed possible that Sriram was simply delivering papers. All of them were then taken to the police station for questioning. Deepak started by interrogating Mano. Mano admitted he had spoken to Shruti before and knew where she lived. However, he firmly denied ever stalking her, harassing her, or threatening her. He explained that he first met Shruti about 10 days earlier when she nearly crashed her motorbike into the car he was riding in with Fabian and Melvin. Mano appeared calm and polite during questioning, which only made Deepak more confused. Why would Shruti accuse him of harassment? Fabian then questioned why they had all been brought in. Deepak explained that Shruti had reported being harassed by someone named Mano just the day before she went missing. And according to city records, there was only one Mano in Hyderabad matching that description. After that, Deepak ordered his team to officially seal Shruti's apartment as a crime scene. As the investigation moved forward, Deepak uncovered a crucial detail. The bullet found in Krish's head was a 9mm round, the type commonly used by police. Meanwhile, the forensic team reported something strange. There were no signs of a struggle or robbery inside Shruti's apartment. However, the blood found on her bedroom wall did not belong to her. Shruti's blood type was O positive, but the blood on the wall was B positive. Next, Gotham shared the results of his interviews with residents around the apartment building. Most people believed Shruti lived alone, with no parents or guardians. One neighbor mentioned that Shruti often brought a man to her apartment, someone she introduced as her fiancé. When they cross-checked the blood type, it turned out the blood on Shruti's wall matched Krish's. His driving license confirmed that he had B-positive blood. Gotham showed Krish's license photo to the neighbor and asked if he recognized him as the man who frequently visited Shruti. The neighbor was unsure. He admitted he could not clearly remember the man's face, but it was possible. During the apartment investigation, Deepak also encountered a group of college students filming footage for a short film competition. He did not entertain their explanations for long. Since the apartment was now a crime scene, he ordered their camera to be confiscated and brought to the station. At the same time, Deepak reviewed Shruti's harassment report in detail. According to her statement, Mano had suddenly stopped her in the middle of the road and harassed her, causing a scene. She reportedly argued with him before going straight to the police to file the complaint. When Deepak returned to the station, Krish's father was already there. The man was devastated after learning that his only son had likely been shot. Losing a child is already unbearable, but losing an only son made it even worse. Meanwhile, Fabian, Mano, and Melvin were eventually released. There was still no solid evidence proving that Mano had done anything. Later that night around 9 p.m., Deepak finally went home after retrieving his phone from the station. His neighbor informed him that earlier, around 6 p.m., a man had been waiting outside his house for quite some time. Deepak did not think much of it. He assumed it was probably a relative who stopped by. After spending the entire day juggling two cases, Krish's death and Shruti's disappearance, which now seemed connected, Deepak turned on his phone and tried calling someone. The number was unreachable. Soon after, Rajan called. Two college students had come to retrieve their confiscated camera. Since the camera was still in Deepak's car, he told them to come directly to his house. When the students arrived, they showed him the footage they had taken. They wanted to prove they had no bad intentions and were only filming for a short film competition. But as Deepak watched the video, he was shocked. The footage clearly showed Vaishnavi arriving at Saroj Sprayak apartment at 11 p.m. during heavy rain. That contradicted her statement, because she had claimed she arrived at 6:45 in the morning. The video also captured a white car, the same one Sriram had mentioned when he found Krish's body by the roadside. Deepak immediately copied the video file onto his laptop. One of the students also mentioned that he had seen a man enter the apartment that same night on July 22nd. Deepak quickly called Gautam and asked him to come over so they could review the new development together. After watching the footage, Gautam did not immediately suspect the white car. He reasoned that it could simply belong to someone who lived in the building. Still, they decided to head to Saroj Sprayak apartment that very night. They arrived around 10 p.m. The neighbor told them that Vaishnavi, who had been staying there temporarily, had gone out for some air and had seemed restless all day. Deepak tried calling her, but her phone was switched off. That raised more concern. He and Gautam quickly drove to the bus terminal, thinking she might be trying to leave for Chennai on the last bus of the night. On the way there, Deepak went over every clue in his head. The unknown man waiting outside his house. Vaishnavi secretly visiting the apartment late at night. Krish's driving license. Shruti nearly crashing into Mano's car days earlier. When they reached the terminal, they searched everywhere, but Vaishnavi was nowhere to be found. On the drive back, Gautam suggested tracking Vaishnavi's phone number. At the same time, Deepak had already asked his team to run the license plate number of the white car seen in the student's footage. Then Gautam shared his theory. It was possible that when Shruti filed the harassment report, she had actually meant Fabian, the most arrogant of the group, but accidentally gave the wrong name. According to what Gautam had learned, Fabian had a reputation in the neighborhood for being troublesome and flirtatious. Since Fabian, Mano, and Melvin were always seen together, people might have easily mixed up their names. Later that same night, around 11 p.m., Deepak and Gautam spotted Mano walking toward the police station. It was clear he had made up his mind. Mano was ready to tell the truth about what had really happened. As he began explaining everything, the story took us back to the first time Deepak had checked the trunk of their car. That moment when Fabian, Mano, and Melvin looked completely terrified. At that time, Kumar's body was supposed to still be inside the trunk. That was why they had panicked. But when Deepak opened it, the trunk was empty. According to Fabian, on the night of the accident, he had noticed a mysterious young man watching from a distance. Fabian believed that this stranger followed them home and later opened the trunk from inside the car using the release button near the driver's seat. The car had not been locked. Fabian suspected the man took Kumar's body and planned to blackmail them by threatening to report the accident to the police. Not long after that, Sri Ram, the newspaper delivery man, showed up at their house. He revealed that he had seen everything. While discovering Krish's body beside a white car on the roadside, he also witnessed Fabian, Mano, and Melvin hitting someone and stuffing the body into their trunk. Instead of reporting them, Sriram chose a different path. He demanded 1 million rupees in exchange for his silence. Fabian quickly agreed, handing over 50,000 rupees up front, promising to pay the rest a week later since most of his money was tied up in his father's business. Just as that initial payment was made, Deepak arrived at their house again and brought the 3 boys to the station for questioning. After they were released, Sriram returned and demanded more money, threatening to report the accident if they refused. This time, Mano suggested they confess to the police and end the nightmare. But Fabian refused. Furious, he lashed out at Mano. That was the breaking point. Feeling guilty and believing it was the right thing to do, Mano decided to secretly confess everything to Deepak without telling Fabian or Melvin. However, he admitted he could not clearly describe the man they had hit. That night had been chaotic, and he was too panicked to notice details. After hearing the full story, Deepak told Mano to go home and assured him that Sri Ram would no longer harass them. Once Mano left, Deepak asked Gautam to lay out the entire timeline as they understood it so far. On July 22nd at 11 p.m., Vaishnavi arrived at Shruti's apartment. Around 2 a.m., Fabian, Mano, and Melvin were involved in the accident not far from there. Around that same time, Krish was found dead on the road. At 7 a.m., Vaishnavi reported bloodstains in Shruti's room to a neighbor. Then by 10 p.m. that night, Vaishnavi might have tried to flee to the bus terminal and disappeared. The timeline was tight. Too tight. Deepak and Gautam began to suspect that Sri Ram, who was present at the scene that night, knew more than he had admitted. Without wasting time, they went to Sri Ram's house around 11:30 p.m. They pressured him to tell the complete truth about what he had seen, warning him that withholding information could land him in prison. Terrified, Sri Ram finally told them everything. His account matched what he had told Fabian and the others. He had seen the accident. He had seen the body, and he had chosen not to report it, purely to extort money. Deepak then showed Sriram a screenshot of the white car taken from the student's video. Sriram immediately confirmed that it was the same car he had seen parked beside Krish's body that night. That made the white car the biggest unanswered clue. Since the ownership details had not yet come through, Deepak and Gotham returned to the station and went straight to the database unit to push for the information themselves. While waiting, Deepak began laying out his theory based on everything they had gathered. According to Deepak, it all started with Krish celebrating Shruti's birthday that night, along with someone believed to be her partner, Vaishnavi. Then suddenly, just like in the opening scene, a masked killer arrived in a white car. The killer entered the apartment and attacked Krish and Vaishnavi, leaving Krish's blood splattered on the bedroom wall. When Shruti was about to be shot, Vaishnavi walked in and was threatened into silence. To make the case more complicated and harder to solve, the killer left Vaishnavi alive in the apartment, warning her not to go to the police. Meanwhile, Shruti and Krish were taken away. On the road, Krish tried to escape and was shot dead. Shruti was beaten unconscious. From there, Deepak connected the dots to Sriram's account of finding Krish's body. He theorized that Vaishnavi was later struck by Fabian, Mano, and Melvin's car and placed in their trunk. The killer then followed their car back to Fabian's house, with Shruti still inside the white vehicle. At some point, the killer secretly retrieved Vaishnavi's body from the trunk and later killed Shruti as well. Both bodies were supposedly left inside the white car, which had yet to be located. Gotham found the theory logical. He suggested that the killer could be a psychopath with no clear motive, someone who killed simply for the thrill of it. Just then, the database unit returned with the ownership details of the white car. It was registered to Krish. Before they could process that twist, another call came in. An officer reported seeing someone inside a white car throwing a large object into a lake. Deepak and Gotham rushed to the location immediately, but by the time they arrived, there was nothing there. On their way back, they suddenly spotted the white car with the exact license plate they had been tracking. They gave chase without hesitation, but the pursuit ended in disaster. Their vehicle crashed and flipped over. The accident was so severe that Deepak lost his right leg. A few days later, the police held a press conference. They announced that Krish had died under mysterious circumstances at Taman Bharati, and Shruti had been abducted that same day. Mano was named the primary suspect, supposedly driven by jealousy and resentment toward Krish and Shruti's closeness. That was where Deepak's official story ended. After the accident, his career in the police force was over. Emotional and overwhelmed, he stepped inside his home. Then suddenly Rajan called and apologized. He said his son had refused to come meet Deepak after all. That was the moment everything shifted. If Rajan's son never came, then who had been sitting there listening to the story all along? Deepak quietly slipped his hand toward the weapon in his pocket and asked who Guru really was. The man in front of him remained calm and cold. He admitted that if he had revealed his real identity from the beginning, Deepak would never have told the full story so openly. The man posing as Guru suddenly pulled out a gun and pointed it at Deepak. He claimed to be Krish's brother and accused Deepak of knowing who the real killer was all along, but deliberately hiding the truth from the police. Construction workers nearby saw the confrontation and immediately called the authorities. Even with a gun aimed at him, Deepak remained calm. He said he was willing to be shot, but only after he finished telling the whole truth. Then he continued the story. A few days after the accident, Vaishnavi had come to the hospital to reveal what really happened on the night of July 22, 2016. She admitted she had not been completely honest from the beginning. She was ready to face any consequences, even though she insisted she was not guilty of any crime. That night, Vaishnavi arrived at Shruti's apartment around 11 p.m. to help celebrate her birthday. When she got there, she found Krish and his friend Prem already inside. They claimed they were friends of Shruti and wanted to join the celebration. They were not her fiancé or partner, just friends. Since Vaishnavi had a spare key, she let them in. She mentioned that Shruti's boyfriend Rajiv would be arriving soon to surprise her. That seemed to catch Krish off guard. When Shruti came out of the bathroom and saw Krish, she was shocked. She immediately told him to leave and called him by the name Mano. That was when everything escalated. Krish locked the door and pulled out a gun. He already knew that Shruti had reported him to the police for harassment, but she had filed the complaint under the name Mano because that was the name Krish had used when he first approached her a month earlier. From the start, Krish had hidden his real identity. His intention had always been to harass Shruti, and just as he expected, she reported him under the false name he had given. That night, when Shruti refused to sleep with him, Krish decided to assault her and have Prem record it. Before he could go further, Rajiv arrived at the apartment. Krish attacked him and knocked him unconscious. In the chaos, Shruti managed to slash Krish with a razor blade, leaving blood splattered on the wall. After the assault, Krish and Prem threatened Shruti, Vaishnavi, and the unconscious Rajiv. They warned them to stay silent or the recorded video would be released. Krish even made it clear that he did not care if he went to jail. In his mind, he had already gotten what he wanted. Then Krish and Prem forced Shruti into a white car and drove to Taman Bharati Road. There, Krish waited outside while Prem continued assaulting her. But Rajiv regained consciousness and followed them. When Krish reached for his gun, Rajiv grabbed his hand. In the struggle, Rajiv fired the weapon, and the bullet went straight into Krish's head. Krish died on the spot. After Krish was shot, Prem panicked and tried to run. Rajiv chased him without hesitation. Not long after, Sriram would discover Krish's body on the roadside. Meanwhile, Prem ran into the street and was struck by the car driven by Fabian, Mano, and Melvin. Rajiv followed their car using Krish's white vehicle. Once they stopped, he secretly removed Prem's body from their trunk and transferred it into the trunk of the white car. After that, Rajiv called Vaishnavi and told her exactly what to do. He instructed her to ask the neighbor for help and report that Shruti was missing. He also told her to take Shruti to the airport around 10 p.m. and leave Hyderabad for a distant city so Shruti could recover from the trauma of that night. At the hospital, Vaishnavi made it clear that if Deepak still doubted her story, she still had Prem's phone. On it was the recorded video of Krish's assault. With that, Deepak finished revealing what truly happened. Then he turned back to the man who called himself Guru and demanded the truth about his identity. The man had claimed to be Krish's brother, but Deepak knew that Krish's father had once stated Krish was his only child. That was when the man showed Deepak a photograph that felt disturbingly familiar. The person who had been sitting there listening from the beginning was not Guru at all. It was Gautam. He had deliberately started the conversation earlier by mentioning the hit and run involving Fabian, Mano, and Melvin, baiting Deepak into telling the full story. Pretending to be Krish's brother was just another tactic to push Deepak into revealing the real ending of the case and to test whether he would finally admit the truth. The car crash 5 years earlier had nearly killed Gautam. He suffered severe burns and fell into a long coma that lasted years. The damage was so extreme that he underwent facial reconstruction and skin graft surgeries. His appearance changed completely. Even his voice grew heavier after not speaking for so long. Physically weakened and permanently scarred, Gautam was forced to abandon his career in law enforcement. His dream of becoming a great police officer ended with his very first case. The bitterness inside him only grew stronger when Mano was named the official suspect. Gautam knew Mano was not the one who had destroyed his life. The real culprit was still free. With tears in his eyes, Deepak told Gautam there was no need to point a gun at him. He had already told the entire story. If anything still felt unclear, Gautam could simply ask. But Gautam revealed something else. 10 days earlier, he had planned to visit Deepak to discuss the inconsistencies in the case. Instead, he saw a man at Deepak's house, the same face he had seen inside the white car 5 years ago. That man was Rajiv, the real person whose actions had changed Gautam's life forever. What hurt Gautam the most was not just the truth. It was the fact that Deepak, the mentor he once respected deeply, had chosen to protect the real killer. Krish and Prem were criminals, yes, but Rajiv had also taken a life. And in Gautam's eyes, justice meant that every crime, no matter the reason, had to face consequences. Not long after the confrontation, police officers arrived and surrounded the area. Gautam, still holding Deepak at gunpoint, demanded the truth right then and there. He wanted Deepak to admit who Rajiv really was. And finally, the truth came out. Rajiv was Deepak's son. Deepak's wife had passed away when Rajiv was still a child, and since then, it had only been the two of them. In that moment, everything made sense. Gautam pulled the trigger, believing that his revenge was complete and justice had finally been served. Almost instantly, the police opened fire. Gautam was shot and killed on the spot. After that, the story rewinds to the night of July 22nd. Rajiv had just arrived at the airport in Hyderabad from the city where he had been working. Only Vaishnavi knew about his arrival. He had traveled all that way to surprise Shruti on her birthday. He also planned to meet his father and tell him about the woman he loved. It was supposed to be a joyful night. Instead, it turned into tragedy. After being forced to kill Krish in order to protect Shruti, Rajiv desperately tried to call his father again and again to explain everything. But Deepak's phone was dead, left charging at the station while he was busy handling a complicated case. Rajiv even went to the police station at one point, but when Sriram shouted upon seeing him, Rajiv panicked and left. Later that afternoon, he stopped by his father's house, but Deepak had not returned home yet. A neighbor noticed him waiting outside. That same night, when Deepak finally got home, he tried calling someone, but the number did not connect. In reality, he was returning a call from Rajiv, who had tried to reach him nearly 10 times. At that moment, Rajiv was taking Shruti to the airport so she could leave the city with Vaishnavi and escape the trauma. Later, when Rajiv attempted to dispose of Prem's body in the lake, he was spotted by the police and fled. That led to the final chase, the moment when Deepak and Gautam pursued the white car and came face to face with the driver. It was Rajiv. In the end, Deepak's final explanation was simple. He had acted as a father, trying to protect his son. Rajiv was not a cold-blooded killer. He had acted to defend the woman he loved from the cruelty of Krish and Prem. But in the eyes of the law, the truth is harsher. A life had been taken. And no matter the reason, the law demands accountability. That is the tragedy at the heart of this story. So the moral of the story is always charge your phone and never fake your name, because one small lie can turn into a full-blown crime thriller.